All right. We're ready to start. George, you know what you said? All right. We'll call to order the Bedford Township Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for September 8th, 2020. We'll start off by introducing the members and representatives on the board. We'll start with the township staff first, and then we'll work our way into the board members.
Karen Kincaid, Planning and Zoning.
Dennis Kohler, Building Inspector.
All right, we're working on the representatives. If Jeff, you want to start us off?
Sure. Jeff Wilson, board member.
Rick Steiner, Township Board Liaison.
Dennis Jenkins, Planning Commission Liaison.
Kyle Durst, Vice Chairman.
And Jake Lake, Chair. All right, next we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. If we all please stand. I'll start us off. I pledge allegiance
To
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Ms. Kincaid, if you would call the roll, please.
Yes. Mr. Lake,
Here.
Mr. Jenkins,
Here.
Mr. Dersch,
Present.
Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Mr. Steiner.
Aye.
All present.
Thank you. Next, we'll approve the agenda. Is anyone like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve
So
the
moved.
agenda as submitted.
Sounds like we had support there. Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to the next piece of business, which is the approval of the minutes of our August 17th meeting. For anyone that was there, if you'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes in that meeting.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
I'll abstain since I was absent.
Thank you. Moving on to next is the new business. We'll look for a motion to open the appeal of Trevor Gentry at 7706 Summerfield Road, looking for requesting a plus or minus 16-foot front yard setback variance and also a accessory building in the front yard variance as well. Would anyone like to open the public hearing?
I'll
Make
go
a
ahead and make a motion to open the public hearing at 7706 Summerfield Road.
It sounds like we have support. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Public hearing is open. Karen, if you would, please give us the details.
Again, the applicant, Trevor Gentry of 7706 Summerfield, Lambertville. He is the owner of the property. It is at the same location. The acreage is 0.264 acre, R2B single-family residentially zoned. They are seeking 16-foot front yard setback and variance to allow accessory building to be constructed in the front yard. That would be on Maplewood and not on Summerfield. The applicant is seeking a variance to construct a 24 by 32 pole barn to be located in the front yard on a corner lot. The property consists of 2.264 acres, having 180.8 feet of frontage on Summerfield Road and approximately 66 feet of frontage on Maplewood Road. Per section 400.1903 accessory buildings, accessory buildings shall not be erected in any minimum side yard setback nor in any front yard pursuant to the schedule of regulations of the Bedford Township zoning ordinance. The applicant noted due to the parcel being a corner lot and the location of the home, there is adequate room to construct an accessory building behind the front building line of the home. Per section 400.1800 schedule of regulations, a front yard setback in a residential district requires 30 feet from the road right of way. While this accessory structure meets the setbacks for Summerfield Road, a 14-foot front yard setback is provided where 30 feet is required. Thus, thus requiring a 16-foot front yard setback variance due to a corner lot and having 2 front yards. A variance is also required to allow an accessory building to be located in the front yard. At this time, no letters or calls of objection have been received. However, the applicant has submitted 2 letters of no objection from neighboring properties. Jody prepared the analysis. We did have one call since this that was questioning the use of the building. Thought perhaps that the intent was commercial use. We might need to verify that this meeting because the commercial use is not permitted in this residential zone.
Excuse me, Karen. Could everyone go on mute if you're not speaking? I think there's got a lot of background noise. Excuse me, Karen.
I apologize for my camera. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's flashing.
Oh,
Yes, yes. Mr. Gentry, are you on with us?
Yep, yes, I am.
Okay. Yeah, if you don't mind, if you could please turn your TV down and take your phone off of speaker.
Yep, I'm off. Let me actually walk away from the TV.
Appreciate it. All right. Once you're there, Mr. Gentry, I think Karen did a nice job of, I think, going over exactly what the situation is here. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I pretty much covered everything in my my letter that I submitted. It
Okay.
pretty much covers everything that was relating the hardships and my geographic boundaries that kind of limits my ability to build where you guys shoot for the township ordinances.
Okay. All right. I don't believe we have anyone else on, so I'm assuming we don't have any public comment here on this particular item. So if anyone would like to close the public hearing, let's make a motion and we'll close the public hearing.
Jake, we should, if just in case somebody's watching, we probably should mention that it's open for public comment and give 30 seconds or so to call in.
Sure. For anyone who is watching, this is an opportunity for a public comment on this particular item. So if you'd like to call in, we'll leave it open for now. Okay. Thanks, George. All right. We'll leave it open for a few more minutes here. And then while we're doing that, why don't we open up with any discussion or questions for either Karen or Mr. Gentry? And I will ask a question. Ms. Kincaid, could you tell us when the house was built?
The home,
Oh,
I'm sorry, I don't have that information in front of me. It's not a recently constructed home. It is in an older subdivision, and it was constructed. Mr. Gentry, I think we discussed this. Do you remember what year we said the home was built?
I believe the deed to my property when I bought the home said 1976.
Prior to the zoning ordinance going into effect.
Okay.
I did want to mention too, the aerial that we provided, in measuring out, of course, that building that we drew in is not to scale, and it may be closer to Maplewood than what is actually going to be the constructed site. So that may be shifted northward, closer to the home a little bit, because that is not to scale.
Thank you, Karen. All right. Any other questions or discussion?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Gentry, what's the intended use of that pole barn?
I pretty much intend to just do cold storage. I got a couple of old pretty nice cars that I'd like to keep stored inside. I'd like to get the rider inside, and really, I'd mostly like to have my wife have somewhere to park her vehicle in the winter, and I had to scrape ice and snow off her windshield, maintain lawn equipment. I got a very small garage now.
So you don't intend to do any commercial work out of that?
No, sir. I work for Overhead Roofing and Sheet Metal, and I've worked there for 10 years, and I don't plan on ever leaving.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Steiner, you had a question?
Yes, I was out and drove by there yesterday and looked around a little bit. And I'm glad Karen mentioned this not being quite the scale. So you're looking at, Mr. Gentry, you're looking at 12 feet off the property line, and I agree there's just no way you could put that behind the home. Of course, there's nothing to put it over to the north side because of the way that property is configured as well. I think the big thing is, as I'm looking at this drawing, a 24 by 32 foot garage is a pretty sizable garage, and I did see you've got a number of cars there that
Yep.
I'm seeing that you definitely want to get things inside. I guess one of the biggest things that I do struggle with is not so much putting a garage in that location, being in a front yard, but the size of the garage being 32 feet long. I know that some garage for a 2-car garage, put a 16-foot door in. So this isn't quite, but almost the length of this would be almost for 4-car width. And I guess that's the biggest thing I struggle with that portion of the variance. And then the other thing I was wondering is, do we know what the calculation is for the roof height of this pole barn? And then another question after that, and I don't know, Mr. Gentry, if you can answer the height or may need the help of Mr. Kohler. And then I'll let you answer that one first.
I plan on going about 15 feet tall. My house is a total of 16 feet. So I would like to stay under, obviously, the size of the home. I don't need to have the height or anything like that. It's just indoor storage to get the rider inside and things along those lines.
Okay. And then to Mr. Kohler, if you could help me here, I'm trying to think, what is the minimum required distance between that proposed building versus the home?
10 feet.
I was going to say, I thought it was 10 feet, but I wanted to be sure.
10 feet.
And I know that, I get it. You definitely don't want to close yourself in there, Mr. Gentry, as well. So that's something to think about too. Right now, we're looking at about a 16 feet opening between the house. So there's technically about 6 feet there. 10 feet's not real wide, but it's just something we need to take into consideration.
It's try to bring it a little closer to the house.
That's just an observation right now. I'm not sure. Again, I was out there. I can guess what a building's going to look like, but sometimes you can look at it and say, "Oh, well, that won't be too bad." Then you put up, it's like, "Oh my gosh, that's a awfully narrow opening," or vice versa.
I was just trying to keep a little room because I have my fenced-in backyard extends about 3 feet further in from my house, and I was trying to be able to just run the rider in there so I didn't have to run around with a weed whacker and try to take care of everything in that area.
I think that's it for right now, Mr. Lake.
Thanks, Mr. Steiner. Let's see, any other questions? Or Mr. Kohler, you might have made a comment, but might have been on mute as well.
Well, my question was, how tall walls did he want to build? Because it really didn't say how tall his walls wanted to be.
I do not have an actual a plan because I was trying to get approved for the variance for the plan, but I was probably going to go with like a 10-foot wall with a 5-pitch or a 4-pitch just shingle, the same estate grade as my house.
So it'd be a 12 to a 13-foot roof mean height, which is well within the 14 feet. So you'd be okay on the height.
Mr. Gentry, is there a proposed cement slab, or are you going with strictly pole building with a dirt floor, or what was the intent there, or gravel or anything?
Intent was just a pole barn and then pouring concrete after the fact.
Ms. Kincaid, did you have a question or comment?
I did have a comment. I just wanted to state that the 2 letters of no objection we received, if you take a look at the one aerial, we have identified the locations of those letters of no objection. And it is actually the home to his immediate north and the home to his immediate east. So they are the abutting properties that he did obtain letters of no objection.
Seeing that we're well into the meeting and we still haven't closed the public hearing, I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing. It seems as if we have no public comment.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
I believe Dennis Jenkins had support there.
I'll support that.
All right, thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, public hearing is closed. A couple of questions, Mr. Gentry, around the position. How did you land at putting the proposed building where it's at right now? I guess there were other options there, but just kind of going through the thought process of that location.
It's just a very useless plot of land that is on the north of my driveway, so it really has no use. You can't put anything there. It's just dead space. I try to maintain the front yard nice and get all that, but it's just mostly sand in that area, and it's just not useful. I mean, you could park a car there, and that's about it.
Yeah, I make a comment. I went out there as well and took a look today, and I would agree, for what it's worth, I would agree. I think that the positioning of the building at least seems to make the most sense, considering the shape of the property. The one question I had was related to, I guess, the request for the variance, that with the being 14 feet from the road, is there any issue in terms of and I don't know how that works. I always think of like a road with a sidewalk, but like an easement or anything like that would be an issue at all?
Well, the 14 foot from the road, there's actually a road right away. It's a subdivision. So there's actually the easement for the public road is actually from his property line. There's still road right away.
Okay.
I mean, overall, if I was to make a comment, that really, to put a building of that size, you can't do it behind the house and into the side of the house. The 2 areas that you have options are just too small. It's pretty much impossible unless it's a shed. You wouldn't be able to do anything of this size. And then just for the record too, Karen, based upon the square footage of this particular proposed building, it's still within the ordinances for this particular zoning, correct? There's no concerns there.
That is correct.
All right. We could have more discussion if anyone's ready to make a motion, ready to hear it. If there is someone who's prepared for that. If not, we can continue to ask some questions and discuss it.
I guess that I just want to make one more comment again before a motion is, I'm still a little concerned over 14 feet from the road right away. I'd almost be inclined to see if there's any way of pushing that building between 4 to 6 feet to the north. That'll put you anywhere from 18 to 20 feet off the road right away. That was my only additional comment on that.
based on that. Any other discussion, comments, concerns?
And was that, I'm sorry, Rick, was that, you had mentioned that would get another 6 feet or so? And that would, was that what you said? I may have misheard. That would get you 4 to 6 feet, that would get you 18 to 20 feet from the road?
Right, because right now, the distance between the home and the proposed building is 16 feet.
Yeah.
10 is required.
Correct.
So that's why I left a little bit of room in there, because just in case there's something, like huge tree stumps or anything else that prohibits, that's why I left a couple feet there. So if we went anywhere from 4 to 6 feet, then add that 4 to 6 to the 14 that's out there by the street.
Yeah, I have looked also that the just a quick search on width of a 3-car garage, and it just, again, a quick kind of Google search was somewhere between 31 and 34 feet. So it does seem to kind of fall in, I suppose, with, they said like a 16-foot door and then maybe a narrower door and a bit of space between the cars. So I think what he's got in here as far as the size, and if you're thinking 3 cars or 2 cars and a rider and maybe some tools or things like that, it seems to be somewhat reasonable. I mean, it seems to be kind of fall within kind of the suggested range. Okay.
All right. With that said, if anyone's prepared to make a motion.
I do have one more question, and again, I'm going to direct this toward Mr. Kohler for some assistance. Dennis, being that we're talking about parking vehicles, which could be leaking gasoline, oil, or anything else, and especially being that it is technically a subdivision as well, anything to do with the pervious service that we must require a concrete before that building goes up and not maybe sometime after the fact?
Actually, there's no really requirement other than just having a non-combustible floor in a garage condition. So gravel is a non-combustible floor, so it's concrete. So there's no concrete requirement.
Okay.
Mr. Jenkins, you had your hand raised.
Yeah. Rick, unless you wanted to make the motion, I'm prepared to do that.
No, go ahead, Dennis.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the appeal of Trevor Gentry, 7706 Summerfield Road, Lambertville, Michigan, for a 16-foot front yard setback variance and approval to construct a accessory building in the front yard or side yard on the corner lot. And also that the building is not to be used for commercial purposes. Rick, I don't know if you wanted to discuss that setback from the house more.
I threw that out as an option, Dennis. I mean, it's your motion, so I guess that would be up to you whether you're comfortable as is or if you would want to move it a few feet.
I actually got no problem with where it's located now. I already parked there and stay out of the road right away.
Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll second your motion then, sir.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and we have support. Karen, if you would call the roll, please.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Mr. Dersch,
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
All right. Motion is approved. And we will move on to the next piece of business. and that is any public comment. If we have anyone else on the phone that would like to make a public comment. Seeing that we don't have anybody on here, we're going to move on to board and staff comments, and Ms. Kincaid, we'll start with you.
I have nothing at this time. The deadline is next Monday to see if we will have an October meeting. So you'll know after that.
Thank you. Mr. Kohler,
I don't have anything.
Mr. Steiner,
Nothing additional tonight.
Mr. Wilson,
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Mr. Jenkins,
Nothing.
and Mr. Dersch.
Nothing additional.
I have nothing as well. Then I will call this meeting adjourned, or I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So
I'll
moved.
second.
For a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. All right, thank you guys. Thanks,
Okay,
everybody.
thank you. Have a good night.